Um, so we're live, right? So here's the thing, though. It's going to be a bit of a unique show. Oh, I need to notify the world that we're live. Very important. Very important. Um, Today's going to be a different kind of show. A little bit, not too much actually. Just some um, slight adjustments. Essentially, I wanted to go live today. I wanted to do a show today. I'm gonna fix this camera because I haven't in a couple of days, and there's playoff baseball going on, so it makes sense to do a show. But the thing is, I don't really have like a lot of topics today. I have a couple, as backups, but I was thinking today would be more of an interactive show. Um, because, like I said, I mean, there aren't really a lot of games going on, obviously, and there isn't any off-season stuff because it's not the off-season, right? So what I was thinking is I would take questions from my viewers. So I notified the world that we're live. Hopefully, we get some people. Obviously, I'm not expecting that we'll have too many. Excuse me. But hopefully, we get some people to pop in and ask some things. It can be anything. It could be whatever. It could be about anything. So essentially, if you want to ask a Q&A question, please do. I would really appreciate it. And just type it in the chat, and I will address it at some point. So, until I start getting questions, I'm going to try to come up with some stuff. But like I said, there's not a lot to talk about right now. The games haven't started yet. The games, last couple of days were like somewhat eventful, not really. I mean, they're eventful, but I'm not going to talk for 30 minutes about Clayton Kershaw because we all understand what's going on. But I do have some stuff, so I'm going to go ahead. So, like I said, please ask some questions in the chat if you're at all, inclined to do so. And it's probably going to be like a short-ish kind of show, because, like I said, we don't have that much schedule, and the ALCS Game 6 is about to begin, if it hasn't already. So I'm not gonna hold you guys for too long. But alas, I will still do my normal shtick and spiel. But please do ask questions if you have it. Okay, so I'm gonna start the show with this today. I feel like I have become a teacher or something. Like every single day I start the show by explaining something that seems so obvious, but people just can't seem to get their heads around it. And today, I don't understand why I have to explain this, but I do. And the Astros are playing the Rays in the ALCS. Okay, so when we watch playoff baseball, many of us, we like, or playoff anything or any game really, we like to have a rooting interest. Okay, I don't necessarily feel the need to do that. I can just watch a game that I don't care about the result of and enjoy it. I mean, I just that's just not the type of fan that I am. That said, I usually do have a rooting interest for one reason or another. May that be, a strong rooting interest because it's my team or a player that I like or whatever, or a very weak rooting interest because I like the colors of one team versus the other. My point is, a lot of people try to find a reason to root for somebody because they enjoy the game more that way. I don't really understand that, but I can appreciate that. Like, I'm cool with that. If that's you, then fine. So the Astros are playing the Rays in the American League Championship Series. Okay, so the vast majority of the country has chosen a team to root for in this series. Okay, and that team for many would be the Rays because obviously people don't want to root for the Astros. They cheated to win a championship, and people don't like them. Okay, so I'm going to preface what I'm saying with this. And before I do, I want to remind you, if you have any questions, today is going to be heavy Q&A. So please type some questions in the chat and I will address them. Anyway, back to our regularly scheduled program. So the Astros are not liked by many right now. And I understand that. I get that. I'm not at all arguing for the Astros. I don't want to root for them either. However, there's a couple layers to this. Number one, a lot of my viewership is made up of Yankee fans of the Yankees. And what I keep hearing, and I keep hearing it and it just kind of goes through and I don't really register, but today I heard it on the radio. I was watching the Michael Kay show, excellent show. And I've heard it all over. This concept that Yankee fans cannot root for the Astros. So the Astros cheated. We don't like that as baseball fans because it hurts other teams, other players. It hurts the integrity of the game. It makes us question the morals of that particular organization. There are many, many reasons, more than I have time to name, why we should not root, generally speaking, for the Astros. However, this idea that Yankee fans in particular have a stronger hatred for the Astros is ludicrous. This, of course, is rooted in the idea that the Astros beat the Yankees in the American League Championship Series in 2017 and last year in 2019. So essentially what the point of this concept is that the Yankees missed out on an opportunity for a championship because of the Astros. And a lot of you are going to disagree with me on this. I already know that. A ton of you, I'm going to get a lot of pushback to this. But my point is, doesn't what the Astros did and all of the reasons to dislike them because of that outweigh losing the opportunity for your team to win a championship? That's where people's heads are. That's what I'm trying to get you guys to understand. People's heads, like Yankee fans, are focused on the fact that they didn't have an opportunity. They didn't get to the World Series in 2017 or 2019 so that they could win the championship. That's what people are focused on. And I'm a Yankee fan. And I'm way more focused on what the Astros did, not what they did indirectly to other teams. That's why we should not root for them, generally speaking. I don't care in the scheme of this situation that the Yankees missed out on a potential opportunity to win a championship. If they had won a championship in 2017, my life would not be any different. I hate to break that to you. It sounds cynical, but it's true. So, that said, generally speaking, I don't want to see the Astros win. But they're playing the Rays. Now, the Rays are not a team that I particularly care for a couple of reasons. Number one, they're heavy in analytics, and I don't like that. Number two, they aren't particularly well run, over the course of their history, and that doesn't really sit well with me either. There are a couple players on the team, I'm not going to name names, that I don't particularly care for. There are some that I do. And they're not my least favorite team, but I just don't like them very much. So, to be honest, I'm rooting for the Astros in this series. Now, the team that you're rooting for in a series should be, literally by definition, the team that you want to win. But for some reason, the narrative around your team that you're rooting for it's like this big, like calculated, like formula. Like you weigh, like the Astros did this and the Rays did this, and I like this more than this. It's like, why don't you just watch the game, see who you would rather win, and then root for that to occur? So this doesn't really, get us anywhere, obviously. Like, this isn't really, agree to disagree, and it's also not really about baseball. It's more about life and sports in general. But the main message I'm trying to get across is Yankee fans, I've heard this a lot, are faced with this dilemma. There's the Astros who cheated the Yankees out of a World Series. And then there's the Rays who beat the Yankees to prevent them from getting to the World Series. Let's think about this for a second. People are deciding, Yankee fans, whether to root for the Astros or the Rays, because both of them are warranted in hatred. Because for some reason, we think that it's like obvious that you should hate the team and root for them to lose that beat your team. Now let's analyze this for a second. If you're a Yankee fan, I'm a Yankee fan. Wouldn't you rather the Yankees, or whatever team it is, but in this case it's the Yankees, have lost to the World Series champions than some random team that got bounced in the next round? That's number one. Like, wouldn't you rather have lost to the best team? Like, why would you rather lose to a lesser team? That doesn't make any sense. If the Rays go on to win the championship, the Yankees had a arguably more successful season because they lost to the best team in the league. That's number one. And number two, why do you dislike a team because they did what they were supposed to do? If the Yankees had beaten the Rays, would you expect Yankee fans, Rays fans, to dislike the Yankees? You would. But think about that concept for a second. This is a sport. It's a game. Okay? We all understand that in the grand scheme it doesn't matter. We forget that constantly. But I'm a baseball fan first and foremost. I'm watching these games. I'm a Yankee fan too, but I'm watching Yankees Rays, and the Rays go on to win, and it's a good series with a lot of good plays and a lot of players that are playing well. And why does that make you like them less? I don't get that. I really don't get that at all. And I understand it's like semi a joke, like you don't like the team that beat your team, but it's not really, because people, like if the Rays were playing, I don't know, the White Sox in the series, Yankee fans would be rooting for the White Sox. That just doesn't make any sense to me. Like a lot of things that have to do with baseball, I can process. This one I cannot. Because to root against a team because they did what they are supposed to do and try to win against your team, I just don't get that. So it's kind of a two-pronged thing. Like the Yankees in general are rooting against both teams in the ALCS. I think in both respects you should tone it down, because I don't think either, is warranted. Again, I think it's warranted to root against the Astros for cheating, but the fact that Yankee fans should be more outraged doesn't make any sense, because the cheating itself completely and totally outweighs the Astros robbing the Yankees of a chance at a championship. Like, it's not really a big deal. Like, it's kind of all right that, they stopped playing 2 weeks earlier. Anyway, again, I encourage you to drop some questions in the chat. And I just spent like 14 minutes on that because, like I said, we don't really have a lot to cover today. We have some more stuff, so if there are no questions, I can fill the time. But I would appreciate some questions because, it's Friday. Obviously, still not the off season, so we don't have that stuff to talk about, and there aren't a lot of games. So, but it's playoff baseball. So here we go. Game 4 between the Dodgers and the Braves. Last night, the Braves win the game 10-2. Go up in the series 3-1. Clayton Kershaw was on the mound yesterday for the Dodgers. And all of you people that watch my show have a certain level of belief, I should say, in analytics. And I know I talk about analytics way too much on this show. It probably bores you. And so just hang in there. This is not an analytics thing. But to preface it, you guys love stats. Love stats. You guys are obsessed with stats. But for some odd reason, there's this man named Clayton Kershaw. He's a left-handed pitcher for the Los Angeles Dodgers. He's been a member of the Los Angeles Dodgers for his entire major league career. And for some reason, you guys love stats, except his name right now is way bigger than what he's done on the field. Every single year, he comes into the postseason and he pitches because he is thought of as, one of their better pitchers, and he is more than one of their better pitchers in general. But in the postseason, his ERA is double what it is in the regular season. He is a 2.4 regular season pitcher. So outstanding pitcher. In the postseason, we all understand that he's struggled. But not only has he struggled, he hasn't even shown glimpses of being decent in the postseason. Literally. He had one good start in the World Series in 2017, and then absolutely crumbled in later in that series to eventually lose the series in Game 6. Or Game 5, I should say. Now, people are using regular season performance results to predict what's going to happen in the postseason, because we take this pitcher, Clayton Kershaw, he shows us what he can do in the regular season. Now he's struggled in the postseason, but we think, okay, if he can tap into that, he has the ability to do that in the postseason. Here's my point. He doesn't. Pitchers in the postseason, players in general, particularly pitchers, are not the same person in the postseason. They might as well have a different name on the lineup card. I don't think you can at all predicate your opinions about the postseason on regular season metrics. The reason why better players do better in the postseason is because they are better players. So when an Alex Bregman has a really good, or I won't use the Astros as an example because you guys hate when I do that. When a Mookie Betts has an outstanding postseason, he's crushing it right now because he's an outstanding player. So we watch him in the regular season, and he does things that indicate that he could carry that into the postseason. But for some reason, a lot of us watch Clayton Kershaw pitch, and we see him as an outstanding talent. But he does not look like a person, a pitcher, a player who is going to produce in the postseason. Even in the regular season, he's not clutch. He doesn't do well in big spots. He doesn't do well against great division rival teams. He doesn't do well deep in ball games. So he shows us a lot of great things. But my point is that it's not like a big gumbo of talents. You have certain skills. Clayton Kershaw has certain skills. But it's not like you put them all together and it gives you your value. Because your value in the regular season is different in the postseason. So the things that he's able to do with a baseball, control, movement, pitchability, that helps him win games in the regular season. But there are factors that he doesn't do well in the regular season that are more important in the postseason. So when we're analyzing a regular season pitcher, it's incorrect to take each of his individual traits and put them together. You have excellent control, excellent movement, excellent pitchability, terrible clutch. put it together, that's 3 excellents and 1 not excellent. So that's still pretty good. It doesn't work like that. Because in the postseason, things matter more than they do in the regular season. Certain things do, certain things don't. So we have to analyze players based on what we see they can do. And we can't see Clayton Kershaw performing in big spots. We can see he's talented. And that is enough to get by in the regular season. More than get by. He's the best regular season pitcher that I have ever seen. But again, you'll say Clayton Kershaw is a great pitcher. That should translate to at least good in the postseason, but it doesn't work like that. It just doesn't work like that. And it's so obvious because time in and time out, he has struggled. And the Dodgers consistently see him and talk about him as a frontline starter, right? They talk about getting to Kershaw in game whatever. Like, that's what they have their sights on. And in reality, it's just a name because Bryce Wilson outpitched him in game 4. So Clayton Kershaw is a much more accomplished, much more talented, much better pitcher than Bryce Wilson. But if he's rolling out there in the postseason, it's like having a guy with a 4.46 ERA, which is what he has in October. We all understand this. I'm not going to keep going down this road. I would just like you to take that in, soak it in, and understand that this is no longer bad luck, good teams. Like, we're past that. He is not a good pitcher in the postseason. It's not going to happen, right? We've talked about this a couple days ago, I should say. History matters. Clayton Kershaw has a history of being an excellent pitcher that stinks in the postseason, and that's what's going to continue to happen unless something changes, and I haven't seen anything change in his 12-year career or whatever it's been. Now, I'd like to wrap up the show, potentially. I don't know if we're going to have time for a couple different things, but I did get a question from my audience, and I got 2, actually. So this should wrap up our show. I'll try to get to both. So the first question, both of these questions actually, from Athenianos in Edinburgh, Scotland. And the first question is, what do you think is the probability that the Astros come all the way back? Interesting question. So, good segue, because I picked the Astros to win this series, okay? When they were down 2-0, I had my doubts, but I was still sticking with them to win the series. When they went down 3-0, obviously not going to change my pick at that point, but I did think it was over. I should not say that. I did think the Rays had a better chance of winning the series than the Astros. I don't know why I said I thought it was over. I did not think that. So we talk about analyzing teams and players based on what they are, not what their stats say, not what we've seen from them over the last week, not what the media says about them. I analyze teams based on what I see. And what I saw in the regular season and what I've seen over the last couple seasons from the Astros and the Rays has not changed in the last 4 days, 5 days, 6 days. Because on Sunday morning, before this series started, these 2 teams are the same 2 teams as they are right now. So at this point in time, the Astros need to win 2 games to win the series. The Rays need to win 1. So that's what we're dealing with. Forget about the Rays were up 3-0. Forget about the Rays are now up 3-2. What we're dealing with right now is we have an Astros team that needs to win 2 games, and we have a Rays team that needs to win 1. So let's talk about the probability of each of those things happening. Like I said, these teams haven't changed in the last 5 days. Same two teams. And what are these teams? I see a Rays team that led the league in strikeouts in 2020, has been playing, and I've looked like an idiot on this, but I still stick by what I say, has been playing outstanding defense despite, I think, being the worst defensive team in the league at this point in time. Again, they've been playing phenomenal defense in this series, but they're not a different team than they were 5 days ago. So I don't expect that to continue. And I also see a Rays team that is not well run and not well coached. I think Kevin Cash is the most overrated coach, manager in Major League Baseball. And I think that their front office is not great either. Not to mention they have 3 starting pitchers. Literally 3. Like when I say this to like semi-baseball fans, they're like, oh, like 3 good pitchers. No, they have 3 starting pitchers, literally. So Blake Snell's pitching tonight. I would imagine Tyler Glasnow's pitching tomorrow, I assume, if it gets that far. Both of which have, I wouldn't say struggled, but have shown signs of not being elite starting pitchers, throughout this postseason. Okay, so they're on their real good pitchers right now, but they're not quite. I don't think at this point in the postseason that they were in the regular season, and I think similarly to Clayton Kershaw, obviously not to the same degree. And we have an Astros team that has had the fewest strikeouts in Major League Baseball in 3 of the last 4 seasons. Now, you'll say a lot of that's cheating, sure, but this season I would assume they're not. We can't come to that conclusion, but let's, for the sake of argument, assume they're not cheating, and if they are, then they're still going to benefit from that. So it's really irrelevant whether they're cheating or not in terms of the results of this series. Fewest strikeouts this year and 3 of the last 4 seasons. Also, outstanding defense. Outstanding. Now, this is funny because I say the Rays stink on D and the Astros are good. In this series, the Astros have looked like the worst defensive team in the league, and the Rays have looked like the best. Again, I'm basing this on what I see. I think the Astros in games 6 and 7 are a better defensive team than the Rays. They also have Dusty Baker, who is coaching the best season I think he's managed in his career, and that is really saying something because he is a Hall of Fame, first ballot Hall of Fame manager. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a second. But to answer the question, with a number, I would say 50%. Because when I look at this Astros team and I look at this Rays team, again, Astros need 2, Rays need 1. The Astros are significantly better than the Rays as a postseason team. That's what I think. That's truly what I believe. So they have to win twice as many games. I don't think it's, the Rays are a good team. I would say 50%. Because I think that is a fair balance. Right? Like if it was if the series was Astros have to win 2, Rays would win 1. That's where the series starts. I would say 50-50. So nothing changes. They're still the same 2 teams. That's what I think. And I'm going to stick with the Astros because I picked them from the start. I think they're a better team. There are a lot of things. 3 things in the postseason I think matter way more than people talk about. Catching, defense, coaching, and putting the ball in play, all of which the Astros dominate the Rays in. So I would say 50-50, but I'll say 51-49 in favor of the Astros because I'm sticking with them, and I will ride by that decision. If the Rays go on to win, I will say from this point on I was wrong. If the Astros go on to win, obviously I will be correct. And I really am hoping that happens. Again, I'm rooting for the Astros in this series. A lot of you probably don't want to hear that, but I have a tangible reason why. I picked them. I have my respect from you guys riding on that. I'm really not interested in the Astros took away a championship from the Yankees and the Rays beat the Yankees. I'm not interested in that. My picks affect me. Who wins the World Series ultimately doesn't. So I'm rooting for the Astros in this series. But enough on that. Question number 2, and the final topic of today's show. How much legitimacy, also from Athenianos from Edinburgh, a very consistent question asker of the show. And I've spoken to this man on numerous occasions. He's a good friend of mine. Has suggested that we do these, Q&A type things more frequently. And I agree. I think it's a good idea. So today is a step in that direction, and I'm enjoying it. Hopefully you guys are as well. How much legitimacy, asks Athenianos, do you think, meaning me, the winner of the season will have? And if the Astros win it all, do you think it is enough for them to overcome their reputations as cheaters? Very good question, and a two-part question. I will answer the first question first, which is, in this odd, unusual season, can we consider this a World Series championship? I mean, we will, but to what degree? So, obviously, it is a unique season. Obviously, it is not the same thing to win the World Series this year than it is in a traditional season. I don't take anything personally away from the winner of the World Series this year, and here's why. A World Series champion, to answer this question, we have to define what that is. And obviously, in simplest terms, it's the team that wins the 7-game series at the end of the season between the two pennant winners. But why do we care about that? Like, what are the things that go into the legacy, the legitimacy of that? I would say proving you're the pinnacle of Major League Baseball in that particular season. And what does that mean? I think that means the best all-around offense, who can put the ball in play, who can create the most runs, who can hit the top-level arms. I would say the best pitching, who can dot the corners, right? Who has the best stuff, who can perform, via good pitchability in the postseason and the regular season. I would say good defense. And I don't really think I need to go on. You understand what I'm saying. All of the things that go into a baseball game, that's what we are talking about when we talk about the World Series champion. And the reason why I don't take anything away this year is I think all of those questions can be answered despite this unusual season. Because I do think that the team that wins this year has proven more than enough to indicate that they are the best team, right? I don't think by any means that this is a season where the best team isn't necessarily the World Series champion. I would say, in college football, the Big Ten, for example, has a shortened season, and baseball does too. But not every team is in play. They're only playing Big Ten teams. I think that's a situation where the best team might not be the victor in college football. But in baseball, I personally think all of those questions, who has the best offense, who has the best defense, who has the best pitching, put it all together, who's the best team, can be answered in 2020. I do. And some reasons for that. Number one, there's an extra playoff series. You have to get through a 3-game series, a 5-game series, a 7-game series, another 7-game series against the best teams in the league. Obviously, the other 15 best teams in the league. So if you can do that in and of itself, I think that warrants a World Series title. Not to mention, there are things that come with the new season. Mental toughness, durability, coaching matters more, I think, in a shortened season. So there are other added factors that I think add to the credibility and the legitimacy of a team being able to withstand a non-traditional season. So no, I don't take anything away from a team that wins this year. Obviously, it's not the same thing, but I see them as the best team in baseball in 2020, which is really what we're looking for. So no, I don't take anything away. And do I think if the Astros win it all, it will overcome their reputations as cheaters? So I think this is an unanswerable – well, it's answerable, but I'm going to say yes and no, because there are The Astros as an entity is too broad for me. There are 28 people on the active roster. There is a full lineup of coaches. There is a general manager, an assistant general manager, scouts, an owner, pitchers, hitters, all that stuff. It's not one entity called the Astros, the way I look at it. Some of those pieces of the puzzle were there in 2017 or 2019 even, and some weren't. So I don't look at it as this big entity called the Astros, that if they win, they're cleared, and if they don't, they're not. I analyze it on an individualized basis. And again, this is all under the assumption that they're not cheating this year, which we can't conclude, I don't think, but we're going to go with that for now, just for argument's sake. A guy like Carlos Correa, he's raking right now. He's playing superb defense. He looks like a star at the very least right now. He looks like a superstar right now. So assuming they're not still cheating, that certainly, I mean, what we've seen from him certainly, I think, overcomes his reputation as less than the baseball player that he was in 2017. It doesn't overcome the reputation of their ethics and their morals in any way, shape, or form. But as a baseball player, Carlos Correa is, assuming he's not still cheating, he's a superstar right now. I will try to answer it, directly as far as an entity, the entire Astros team. Does it, because again, I think what the question's really getting at is people think that they won the World Series, but they weren't actually deserving. So I think what the question is asking is, if they win fairly, does that mean that they were deserving in 2017, would have won anyway, that kind of thing? Is that true? I would say no, because again, this is not the same team, right? I think it's a different team. Every single move that is made, whether it be a coaching change, a player change, whatever, it's a different team. Okay? If they had this team in 2017, maybe they would have won, maybe they wouldn't have. I don't know, because it's not the same team. So I don't think so. I think that we have to analyze each team in and of itself. And I think that the individual players, some of them, are sort of cleared in the sense that they still look like really strong players. Jose Altuve does not. George Springer had a dismal season. He looked good at the end of the season. Same thing with Alex Bregman. So there's discrepancies. There are discrepancies in there, right? Some players I think we can see are still good players. Some players we have our doubts. As an entity, the Astros, are they cleared of the narrative that they would have, that they wouldn't have won any? Excuse me. Are they cleared of the narrative that without the cheating they would not have won in 2017? No, because that was that team then. This is their team now, and we don't know the degree to which they were cheating or not cheating or doing things that aren't technically cheating but give them an unfair advantage. So I would say this season does not really say anything about the 2017 Astros. So it's yes and no, because I think it does vindicate some of the players, but not the Astros as a collective entity. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will accept if any of you guys have any other questions. Like obviously we're out of time, but if you just want to post them in the comment section of my channel, go ahead, and anytime you guys ask me a question, if it's something that I think we should talk about, which there's a 99% chance that I will address it in the next show. So keep them coming, right? If you have any questions, let me know. I'll address them. But thanks for watching today. It was a lot of fun. Go watch some baseball. We got Astros, Rays, Dodgers, Braves. If the Braves win, I'm gonna rip out my my Braves jersey for the next show. So it's gonna be some fun baseball in the next couple of days. And like I said, right now it's 3-2 Rays and it's 3-1 Braves. What happened? That's in the past. So these games are going to be exciting, right? It's not a matter of the Astros coming back from 3-0 or the Rays blowing a lead. these next two games, if there are two, or one if there's one, are going to be super fun games to watch. So go ahead and I'll allow you guys to do that now, and I will stop talking so that you guys can do that. So thanks for watching. Have a healthy, happy, and safe rest of your Friday and weekend. If we don't have a show over the weekend, I'm assuming we will be back on Sunday. There's a chance tomorrow, but I think certainly I don't know, certainly, but good chance we do a show on Sunday, maybe even tomorrow. I don't know. But thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment, recommend, all that good stuff if you feel inclined to do so. And have a good weekend. Regardless of whether whether we have a show or not, I still want you to have a good weekend. So have a good weekend and be healthy, happy, and safe. And thanks for watching. Have a good one. I hope you enjoy. Peace.